Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you today with kind of a reading update. I hadn't done one of these for a couple of weeks, and I've been getting quite a bit done in my reading. I've knocked out several titles. The problem is I don't have my list with the dates and when I did my last review video, so I can't even remember how far back on the list I need to go to tell you about the books that I finished. So I'm just going to talk about the last couple that I finished. I finished 3 in the last 2 days. So I'll talk about those and then just what I am reading right now. I am like, I went headfirst into the pool into some really big books, and I am thoroughly enjoying them. It's just, you guys know me, I'm a slow reader, so it's gonna, I'm gonna have to, chunk this a little bit at a time. So anyway, recently what I have been reading and gotten finished in the last couple of days. My 8th grade class, we are getting ready to start our Civil War unit. And before we start that unit, we always go back and remind ourselves, what is slavery like? And I always use the autobiography of Frederick Douglass called Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. And it's about 120 or so pages. And we just got done reading that in class. We read every word of it out loud together. I always have that fear that, you give kids assigned chapters to read, and then you might get half of them to read them, and the other half just skip them and take their chance with the questions. I can't stand that. I want to make sure, I think this is important enough that the kids need to hear every word of what Frederick Douglass left for us. So anyway, I finished Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, and I actually read that twice. I only counted as once, but I did read it twice because I have 2 sections of 8th grade American history, and what a wonderful book that is. Not wonderful in the subject matter, but wonderful in the retelling of it. Frederick Douglass does an awesome job of going back in his life and basically just laying out, this is what slavery is, and this is how I defeated slavery. And, of course, Frederick Douglass runs away to the north, and then eventually his freedom is bought by some friends. And, but he really lays it out, and I love his message about the importance of reading and education. Is that message it goes all through the book, and it's really good when I'm sharing that with my 8th grade class, that they hear that and they know that. So we did finish that, and I did a couple of years ago a review of that book, a book review of that, and I'm going to try to remember to leave the link to that down in the description box. So I invite you to go check out what my thoughts are of the book. It's a little bit more detailed look. So another book that I finished recently was, and you're going to laugh because you guys know I'm a history guy, but I have been really trying to concentrate on reading middle grade type books or YA books that my middle schoolers would be reading. And so I've been going through several different books. One of them I'm going through right now is Laurie Halse Anderson's Chains. And so one of them that I read, well, and this is the one I was going to talk about, but I might as well talk about it. Her book Fever, which talks about the yellow fever that hit during in Philadelphia during 1793. I think it was 1793. Anyway, it talks about the fever that ran through there. It's a really good book. It's a super easy to read. And I actually listened to that one on audio. I've been trying to do some audio books during, like when I'm doing the dishes, making lunch for that school day, those type of activities where there's dead time. I've been trying to do some audio books, and I actually did that one on audio book. Really good book. Highly recommended if you're into middle grade or YA books. Go read that. It was called Fever 1793, I believe. And then, of course, that leads into one that I am reading right now. I haven't read it for the last week, maybe week and a half, because I've been reading these other ones. But this is Chains. It's book 1 in this series that she did that's all based around the American Revolution and a couple of slaves that we meet. And it goes through the horrors of slavery and what that means to a nation that is in rebellion, trying to break away from Britain. And if we have this message of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all men are created equal, why do we still have slavery? And I mean, it gets into a lot of really good stuff. She's a great storyteller. I highly recommend all of her books, or at least the ones I've read anyway. This Revolution trilogy, and then Fever. Those are all good books. Another book that I actually just finished yesterday was Harry Potter. Now, don't laugh. I tried reading these books, it was 10 or 12 years ago, when the kids were all going, cycling through them. It's Harry Potter. I've noticed in middle school, they have cycled through like 3, maybe 4 times with the kids over the years. And at that time they were cycling through, and I was like, I am going to make a point of reading some of these middle grade books. And so I tried to read the Harry Potter series. I read at least the first 2, and I think maybe I got into the 3rd book, and then I put it down. That genre is not my favorite genre. It's not that it's a bad book. It's just not for me. But what I did find was I listened to Harry Potter on audio. So that was my next audio that I picked up. And I actually enjoyed it a lot more listening to it than I did reading it, which is usually not the case with me. I very much prefer to actually read the books. So that was a very pleasant surprise. I was very happy with that. So that was a book that I finished yesterday. And then another book I finished yesterday, and it would have been a little bit earlier in the day, was a new one that came out, and it was The Color of Abolition. And that book was pretty good books by Linda Hirschman. It talks about the abolition movement and the work of Frederick Douglass, William Lloyd Garrison, and Maria Chapman, and I'm going blank on her last name. I apologize. But anyway, their 3 faces are on the front cover, and the whole story kind of revolves around just the abolition movement and how, it started as one, and then it splintered, and then it splintered again into many different groups and factions, and how they worked against each other, how they worked together. And it was a pretty decent book. If you're not familiar with the abolition movement, I would highly suggest reading that. It is not a book that I would maybe recommend for people who are very well versed in abolition, because the book came off as, it was good, but it came off as another title that's running on the coattails of David Blight's biography that he wrote on Frederick Douglass. I really feel it's riding the coattails of that. And that's the second one I've read this year that was like that. There was one on, and I can't remember the author's name. He writes for the general public, but it was on Lincoln and Douglas. And I found that one to be really riding the coattails of David Blight's book. But this one kind of had that feel also, that this is in the reading news, and everybody's hearing Frederick Douglass quite a bit because of David Blight's biography. And so it's just a new one that's come out that, we're going to ride that wave. But at the same time, I say that I don't want to take away from the book, because I think she did a good job with the book. It was much better than the one I read earlier in the year on Lincoln and Douglas both. So anyway, that is my short thoughts on those books. I would recommend picking those up. So what am I reading right now? So in the next oh gosh, I don't know how long it's going to take me to read these, probably a month and a half, I'm guessing. But we are heading towards the end of the school year, so it's going to get busy the next 3 weeks, and then it'll start to slow down just a tad bit. And then once summer gets here, I will have a lot of time to read. So again, I'm reading Laurie Halse Anderson's Chains. That's one of the last ones in the stack of books that my language arts teacher gave me to read. Another book that I'm reading, I got my paperback version. My daughter has a hardback version. Her version's right here. we're doing a buddy read on Gone with the Wind. And I know there were a lot of you that were wondering, are we still reading this? Have we given up? I have not given up. We started this clear back in, did we start in maybe February? And I had been waiting. We finished the first part one, like 4 weeks ago. And it was in early March when like the first week of March, we finished part one. And her life has picked up speed. She's gotten a second job. She's doing college, and she just hadn't had time to do the videos. The only times we've had to do the videos, she hadn't had her makeup and stuff on, and she didn't want to sit in front of the camera, which, okay, that's all right. Hopefully she'll want to sit down and do these videos. We were planning on doing part one, part two, for each part in the book. But anyway, I am in the middle of part two now. I just went ahead and started reading again. I got tired of waiting because I'm enjoying the book. I'll be starting chapter 10, and I'm going to be using this for my SSR book at school. So I'll be picking that up again, and I'll probably have at least chapter 10 read by time tomorrow morning comes around. But anyway, I've been reading on that one. Scarlett O'Hara, she, in the first part of the book, she's kind of a flighty girl. She's very self-centered, very does not worry about what other people think. Absolutely beautiful girl that all the guys, the attention goes to her, and she knows it. And that's kind of my general thoughts of her character. She is from Georgia, from northern Georgia. Her family's not one of the old money families. It's one of the newer money families. And so her family they have respect, but not a ton of respect. And so she's always fighting that, and she's looking, who am I going to marry? Because she's in the first part, I think she's 16 is where this starts. In the part that I'm in now, she's 17. But she's looking for a marriage partner, and the guy that she has determined that she loves is going to marry one of the neighboring into one of the neighboring families, and she is absolutely out of her mind, and she ends up going in and leading on a boy who's getting ready to head off to war, and leading him on and having him ask her to marry him. And so he dies in the war pretty quick, actually, like 2 months after they get married, and she's pregnant. And so now in the second part of the book where I'm at, her husband's been dead. Her son, she's 17 now. She doesn't really want much to do with her son, which is sad because she's self-centered, and she is missing being the center of attention. And of course, she's in that state of mourning. And Rhett Butler, excuse me, wrong name. Rhett Butler, who is right there in the picture, he is oh goodness. He runs the blockade. He's a blockade runner for the South, and he is one that brings in goods to try to help the Southerners have a nice life while the war is going on. How sickening! But anyway, he is starting to he likes her. You can tell that, but she kind of likes him, but also hates him. And the part in the book I'm at now, they're at a fundraising dance, and she's supposed to be still in mourning, and she starts dancing with him, and they're raising money, auctioning off the dancers, and story's interesting. I'm enjoying it. I don't like how they glamorize the slavery issue and they kind of just brush it aside. That really annoys me. I like Margaret Mitchell's just writing and how it flows. She tells a good story, but when she does the dialogue, I don't mind the dialogue with the Southern characters, the white characters, but when she does the dialogue with the slaves, she's trying to put the accents and all that stuff in there, and it is really hard to understand. I have to read that part of the dialogue like 3 times in order to figure out, and it slows the pace of the book down. I don't like that. So anyway, more thoughts on that later. Next book that I am reading, the other big one Gone with the Wind was for March of the Mammoths. even though we didn't get much of it read. We got it going, and I will get it finished. The other one for March of the Mammoths that I started was Winter of the Worlds. This is volume 2 of the Century Trilogy by Ken Follett. Excellent, excellent book. We are in 1930. I just got done with 1936. Chapter 4 is where I'm at, 1937. And so it's basically looking at the buildups to World War II, the causes. Nazism is on the rise in Europe. The fascist movement is spilling over into England with the characters, and we're seeing the workers that want to go on strike for various reasons, doing battle with the fascists who are trying to manhandle the government. And we also see our main character in the part that I'm at. I believe, if I remember right, it's been a week or so since I picked this one up because I've been working on Gone with the Wind, but he just left to go fight. I believe he just decided to go leave to fight in the Spanish-American War, and they're going to go fight with the brigade, the brigade of, it's basically the group of men from other nations who come to help fight. So anyway, very good book. It bounces back and forth in where it's at in the setting, from Germany to England to America to Spain. Well, it hasn't done much in Spain. It's talked about Spain, but not been in Spain. It's about ready to talk about what's going on in Spain. So very, very good book. Highly recommend that series. The next one that I am reading is Robert E. Lee, A Life by Alan Gelzo. And I've been reading about 2 chapters a week for the last 3 weeks. I'm buddy reading this with Peg over at the History Shelf, and it's always awesome listening to the thoughts that Peg adds to the book discussion that we have on Voxer about Robert E. Lee. I'll be honest, I had my reading caught up, but I've been slacking off on my Voxers, and so I had to do some catch-up work this morning. Like I told you earlier, life is just took off and sped up. We got track meet starting for my middle school girls. Track meets start next Tuesday, and so in the next 3 weeks, life is going to be at a pretty good clip, and there's going to be a lot of nights we're not getting home till 9 o'clock, and when you get to school around 6 o'clock, that's a long day, 15-hour day, but I guess I signed up for it, so I shouldn't complain. But anyway, life has been hectic, and so I had to do some catch-up work this morning on my Voxer comments. But this is an excellent book. Alan Gelzo's writing there's such a flow to it. He does such a good job telling a story. And we're at the beginning stages of Robert E. Lee's career. He just got done with, first of all, he's been working on the forts, the 3rd generation of forts that were built in the United States to help defend the United States coast. And he was working on, in one of the chapters, he was working on St. Louis and the flow of the river, trying to fix that to make sure that St. Louis didn't get, left high and dry. And in the last chapter, he just got done being the leader of West Point. And he just gave up that commission, and now he's doing a lot of questioning on his life. Should I stay in the Army? Should I not stay in the Army? So pretty interesting stuff. And then the last book that I actually just started this morning, I've been having this hankering to read some Lincoln. And if you notice over here, I've got the Sidney Blumenthal series. I've read volume 1, that might have been a year and a half ago. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it was the best one that I had read, but it was good. And so I had been wanting to read volume 2, Wrestling with His Angel, 1849 to 1856 by, like I said, Sidney Blumenthal. And so I started this. I read the prologue this morning, and so I've got it started, and I hope to kind of pick at this over the next month. Just pick a little bit here, a little bit there. It's about, almost it's 479 pages of text. So it's another decent sized book. So I got a lot of big books going on right now. But the reason I wanted to pick up that Lincoln book, even though I've got all these other big books going, is because recently on the History Channel, they did a 3-part documentary series on Lincoln. And this was probably a month and a half ago. It was for his birthday, I believe, if I remember right. but it's been sitting on my DVR, and every night I've been so tired. I don't like watching documentaries when I'm tired if I'm actually wanting to pay attention to them, because I fall asleep. And but anyway, the last couple nights I had watched the first episode of that trilogy, and it goes all the way up to being elected president, and that's my favorite time period to learn about. I love the antebellum period. And so anyway, this book, like I had said in the title, 1849 to 1856, that is going to be hitting my favorite time period to learn about. And actually the next volume these two volumes combined will talk about that whole antebellum period. And I've been so excited to read it, and I've been putting it off for whatever reason. So I was like, well, I'll just pick it up and get it started. And so, yeah, and it's good so far. Again, I just read the prologue, wasn't very much, first 8 pages, but excited to get that one going. So, BookTube, that is my reading list right now. Let me give you a little Donahue pyramid. That is what I'm into right now. All of them are really good so far. And, I guess the other one that I need to add to that, the second Harry Potter book on audio, I went ahead and picked that up. So I'll be listening to that here in just a minute while I'm making breakfast. Or not breakfast, excuse me. Well, yeah, breakfast. Making breakfast and lunch for school today. So anyway, I better wrap this video up because I got to get to school. So I hope everyone's having a great week, getting some reading done. The weather's it's been starting to warm up finally. But like yesterday, we were worried about tornadoes yesterday. 2 days ago, 2 nights ago, we were worried about tornadoes. So we're in that season. But anyway, BookTube, I hope everyone's getting a lot of reading done. The weather's getting nice. I like sitting out on the porch and reading, so I did that the other night. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful day and heading into, hopefully, maybe a beautiful weekend. So until next time, BookTube, happy reading.